Welcome to your next lesson on tracking your guest list. In this lesson, we will go over how to keep track and what information to keep track of. The first thing you're going to want to do is put a deadline on your RSVP cards. This lets your guests know when they need to respond back by. I always advise my clients that they should put their deadline as 2 weeks prior to the date that your caterer needs that information by. This way, you have a little wiggle room and can make sure it gives you a little time to get everything in order before you have to give your final numbers. If you choose a platform like The Knot or Wedding Wire, you're able to keep track of these lists using their website interface. Otherwise, if you're like me, you can choose to use an Excel spreadsheet to keep track of everything you send out as well as receive back. If you choose this way to keep track, look under the download section of this lesson and I've put together an Excel tracker for you to record all of your information in. If you choose to use an Excel spreadsheet, you'll want to keep track of the following information: your guest's name, their address, their response, and how many people will be joining you. Optionally, you can also choose to track some additional information like their email, their food choice, any food allergies, recording their gifts, and thank you cards. Now, if you want to use a free online platform to collect all this information instead of a spreadsheet, here are a few good ones to check out: The Knot, Wedding Wire, RSVP Wedding Manager, and The Wedding Spot. Now, let's go over a few tips to help you keep track of your guest list. The first being number your response cards. Before you mail out your response cards, if you're using an Excel spreadsheet, you can assign each guest a number and write that number on the back of the response card prior to sending them out. This way, if your guests happen to forget to write their names on the front of the response card, you'll still be able to tell whose card it was in order to keep track. Pre-postage. I far too often see brides and grooms forget this crucial part when mailing out their invitations, so it's important that on the return envelope, you always put a postage stamp so it will not cost your guests anything to mail the response card back to you. Third, know of any upcoming postage changes. As the price of postage is forever changing, make sure you check to see if there are any increases in postage planned so that you do not buy rolls of stamps and then have to go back through them all adding additional postage. Or, better yet, I always tell my brides that if they don't care what type of stamp is used, purchase the forever stamps. This way you don't have to worry about anything when it comes to your postage. Give your guests options. If you're looking to save a few more dollars, you can always save money on the return postage and let your guests know they can RSVP on your wedding website or online platform instead of mailing it back to you. You can also give them the option to RSVP via email or text message. Following up. About 2 weeks prior to your wedding, you'll want to reach out to anyone who is not RSVP'd because your venue and caterer will need to know a final guest count about 10 days prior to the wedding. Make sure you check with your contracts to see when you need to give final numbers so you can follow up with anyone you haven't heard back from to solidify your guest count number. And the numbers always even out. I know a lot of brides stress out about this magical number when it comes to your guest count, but don't worry. Someone always can't make it last minute, and someone will agree to come last minute. Your numbers will even out, so don't freak out over it. I hope you've enjoyed this lesson, and we'll see you in the next one.